We all know it, and many of us love it. I, for one, am obsessed. It's the most famous British fighter aircraft in history, the Supermarine Spitfire. One of the most iconic aircraft of all time, the Spitfire as we know and love it, had a bumpy road into existence. British aeronautical engineer and designer R.J. Mitchell and his team produced an early design in 1931, but it struggled to perform to Air Ministry standards and was rejected in 1934. Mitchell and his team revised their design, and in March 1936 the prototype Spitfire took off for the first time. It wasn't perfect, but its fundamental design meant that it could be improved, and from the Mark I to the Mark 24, it changed significantly. In August 1938, around a year before the outbreak of the Second World War, production Spitfires began to enter service. By the outbreak of war, 9 squadrons were equipped. In total, 20,341 Spitfires were manufactured. That's more than any other British combat aircraft before the Second World War or since. And it was the Second World War that really put the Spitfire to the test. Constant improvements were made to the aircraft to ensure that it was able to perform reliably and effectively against its Luftwaffe counterparts. Its engines became more powerful, its wings changed shape, new type propellers were fitted, and its armaments were altered and increased. The Supermarine Spitfire was the only Allied frontline fighter in complete and continuous development all the way through the Second World War. It was in the Battle of Britain in the summer of 1940 that the Spitfire became a symbol of defiance and freedom in the face of enemy aggression. By July that year, RAF Fighter Command had 19 Spitfire Mark I squadrons available. Much of Europe had fallen to Nazi Germany, but the British government vowed to fight on, supported by its overseas allies. Between June and October 1940, around 2,000 Hurricanes and Spitfires were built. During these months, the RAF fought the Luftwaffe in the skies above Britain, and particularly around southern England. The Spitfires and Hurricanes were crucial to the RAF being able to face the Luftwaffe's Messerschmitt Bf-109s on anything resembling technologically equal terms. But of course, for both aircraft, victory in battle often boiled down to pilot skill. A combination of science and technology in the aircraft and radio direction finding equipment, and the integrated air defence system in which they were deployed, along with the courage, skill and tireless and effective work of RAF and Women's Auxiliary Air Force personnel, saw the Luftwaffe defeated in the Battle of Britain, and the indefinite postponement of Operation Sea Lion, the planned German invasion of Britain. The Spitfire became a symbol of freedom, of British resilience, brilliant aeronautical engineering, and incredible courage and sacrifice. An important piece of our history, this aircraft is legendary and very well loved. I, for one, have loved it for as long as I can remember. But what was it like to fly in one? I went to Aerial Collective's hangars at Duxford Airfield to find out. After an in-depth safety briefing, during which I immediately forgot the bailout procedure, I wriggled into a flight suit and was introduced to PT-462, also known as the Mediterranean Spitfire. You can learn more about her history by clicking the link in the video description. Once you're in and situated, there are a series of buckles and straps to tend to. I had forgotten almost everything I had learned in the morning demonstration, but the lovely Aerial Collective ground crew helped me out. There is a point, once you're strapped in and don your helmet, that you realise you're sat in a World War II Spitfire, and it smells glorious, and you're going to close the canopy and take to the sky in it, and it will, just for a little while, be your own little world. And I can tell you it's very difficult to play it cool once you realise that. The pilot, Nick, got in, and we ran a comms check to make sure we'd be able to hear each other throughout the flight. And then, finally, it was time to fly. The moment when the engine starts up has to be one of the greatest thrills a human being can experience. and you feel it with your entire body. Nick taxied us to our takeoff position with the Mustang just behind us. And then came the moment I've waited my whole life for. The tower radioed the words.
And Spitfire Mustang, take off your discretion, 06 hard, surface winds 120 degrees, 11, maximum 18 knots.
Spitfire Mustang taking off 06 hard.
And we did. Sitting in an aircraft that's being powered by a Merlin engine as it takes to the sky is not something I've yet managed to figure out how to describe. Let's just say it's a very, very special experience, and it only got more special. Miss Helen popped up beside us, and for a few minutes the two aircraft flew in formation. It was a pinch yourself moment, except I couldn't do that because of my massive flying gloves. I'd say it was the best view ever, but actually I think the chap in the Mustang had that, because he was looking back at our Spitfire. We waved goodbye to Miss Helen as she peeled off to head over to the American cemetery to give a nod to her fallen fellow countrymen who rest there. I took a moment to try to take in what was happening. The feeling, the vibration of the aircraft, the wonderful smell of oil and fuel. It isn't as loud as you think it will be, and a lot of the noise is drowned out by your flying helmet. The sun is bright, if you're lucky and Britain behaves, and there is a slight breeze through the canopy even though it's closed. I grew up in East Anglia, and this was quite possibly the best view of it that I've ever had. I was busy pondering this when Nick asked me a very important question.
Would you like to fly the airplane? Yeah. Alrighty, well whenever you're ready, so you have control.
Okay.
You are flying the Spitfire.
I did contemplate telling him that I failed 7 driving tests, but I didn't want to pass up the chance to steer a Spitfire for a few minutes, so I kept this fun fact to myself and said yes. It amazed me how responsive the aircraft is, and all I could think about was World War II ATA pilot Jackie Mogridge. She said, if you want to turn right, you just think you want to. Don't move, just think it, and imperceptibly you will turn right. Suddenly, I knew what she meant. Another thing I hadn't told Nick was that I'm actually not great with flying. But when you're airborne in a Spitfire and the pilot says to you, shall we do some victory rolls? The only real answer to that question that makes any sense is yes.
What we'll do, I'm going to put a little bit of power on. And if you're up to it, we'll just do a couple of very gentle victory rolls.
Yes, let's do that.
Perfect.
First, we checked the airspace was clear. Things like gliders can be missed, and it's important to manually check that the coast is clear. Then it was down to business. I don't spend a tremendous amount of time upside down, and it does feel a bit odd. Like your head might explode and your face might fall off. But I was assured that that's completely normal. There is a sick bag in your flight suit pocket, and it's at this point in the flight that you might need it. I was very relieved that I didn't have to use mine. I was also very relieved that I declined the tea and cake I was offered just before boarding the Spit. A free tip. Your pilot will be extremely skilled, and it's likely that they will pull some utter shenanigans. On the way back to base, we busted out some hooligan behaviour, better seen and heard than described with words.
Yeah, it does feel a bit hooligan.
Reuniting with our old friend, we headed home. Taxiing back to the hangar, I couldn't quite believe what had just happened. To be airborne, in formation with a Mustang, performing barrel and victory rolls and rip-roaring across the Cambridgeshire sky was just so special. The sight and sound of a Spitfire is a beautiful reminder of the brave men and women who flew these incredible aircraft in wartime, and of course reminds us to think of and pay our respects to those who gave their lives in doing so.